The world is quiet, too quiet. Most people wake up, scroll their phones, sip their coffee, and go about their day without realizing that a war has already begun, a war unlike any in human history. A war fought not with tanks, bombs, or soldiers marching across borders, but with something far deadlier: money, technology, sanctions, trade routes, and influence. This war is invisible to the naked eye, yet it touches every life on Earth. It has the power to crash economies, topple governments, and disrupt the very foundations of society. And at the center of this war are two giants, the United States and China. For decades, America ruled the world through military might, economic dominance, and technological supremacy. Its dollar-controlled global finance, its corporations shaped international markets, and its influence reached into nearly every corner of the planet. But over the last 2 decades, the rise of China has shaken that dominance. China is no longer the sleeping dragon of old folklore. It is awake, and it is ready to challenge the old world order. The tension began subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a storm brewing on the horizon. For years, the US relied on China as a trading partner, a manufacturer, and a source of cheap goods. Meanwhile, China quietly built its industrial base, invested in high-tech research, and expanded its global influence through infrastructure projects across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Then, in 2018, the storm broke. The United States imposed massive tariffs on Chinese goods, accusing China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and threats to national security. China responded in kind. Billions of dollars of goods became weapons overnight. Factories stalled, markets wobbled, economies trembled. The world called it a trade war, but that term could not capture its magnitude. This was not a disagreement over products. This was the beginning of a new economic Cold War. Money became a missile, tariffs became artillery, and sanctions became deadly weapons. Every trade decision, every financial policy, every investment was now part of a battle for global supremacy. And the stakes could not be higher. Today, the war is fought across multiple battlegrounds: semiconductors, rare earth minerals, shipping lanes, and even digital currencies. Semiconductors, the microchips that power everything from phones to satellites, from cars to fighter jets, have become the modern oil. Whoever controls the chips controls the future. The US has banned China from accessing advanced chip-making technology. China, in turn, has restricted exports of critical minerals required for chip production. Countries around the world are forced to take sides, choosing alliances that could define their prosperity or condemn them to economic isolation. This economic war is also fragmenting the global trade system. Countries are no longer trading freely. Supply chains that were once seamless are breaking into pieces. Industries are struggling to adapt. Prices are rising. Factories are relocating. Investors are panicking. And ordinary citizens, far from the boardrooms and negotiation tables, are already feeling the impact. History shows that economic conflicts can be just as destructive as military ones. The Soviet Union collapsed, not from bullets, but from economic collapse. Germany fell after World War I, devastated by financial sanctions. Nations have always been vulnerable to economic pressure, and today, in this high-stakes conflict, no country is immune. The US-China confrontation has created a world divided into 2 spheres of influence. On one side is the Western Bloc, led by the United States, Europe, Japan, and other allies trying to maintain global economic dominance. On the other side is China, building parallel trade networks, financial systems, and alliances that bypass Western control. The Belt and Road Initiative is not just infrastructure. It is a strategy to shift the center of global power. Ports, railways, pipelines, and digital networks are being used to expand influence quietly, deliberately, and strategically. Africa, Asia, and Latin America are now key arenas in this silent war, And every investment, every contract, every shipment is part of the broader plan. And then there are the sanctions. Sanctions are the silent killers of economies. They target critical sectors, freeze assets, and restrict trade. The United States has weaponized sanctions against countries that cooperate with China or challenge its dominance. China, in turn, has learned to fight back with retaliatory measures, cutting off rare earth minerals, restricting exports, and forming trade blocs that weaken the dollar's global influence. One wrong move could trigger a cascade of collapses. Supply chains for electronics, automobiles, energy, and food are all interdependent. Disrupt one, and others fall like dominoes. And unlike a battlefield war, there is no clear front line. The enemy is everywhere, invisible yet omnipresent. In this war, corporations are not neutral, they are weapons. Factories, logistics companies, and tech firms are on the front lines. They move silently, adjusting production, sourcing new suppliers, and navigating an increasingly fragmented world. Governments pressure them to align with national strategies. Companies that fail to comply risk being blacklisted, frozen, or shut down. The rules have changed, and the cost of failure is catastrophic. Semiconductors are perhaps the most important front. The tiny chips inside every modern device have become the ultimate weapon. Without them, economies cannot function. Manufacturing grinds to a halt. Military systems fail. Communications break down. The race to control semiconductor technology has become a life-or-death struggle. Taiwan, home to the world's most advanced chip manufacturers, has suddenly emerged as the most critical point in the global economy. A conflict over Taiwan could trigger a chain reaction that collapses industries, destabilizes markets, and reshapes power globally. The world is at a tipping point. Even energy, finance, and food have become tools in the economic arsenal. Nations use trade restrictions, subsidies, and tariffs to weaken rivals. Countries hoard resources. Shipping lanes are monitored and controlled. Digital infrastructure is weaponized. Every aspect of life is part of the battlefield. And yet, most people go about their daily routines, oblivious to the forces shaping their future. They are distracted by headlines, entertainment, and routine life, unaware that the most dangerous war of their lifetimes is already underway. Some analysts warn that the current economic Cold War could escalate into something far more catastrophic. When economies collapse, social unrest follows. When trade networks fragment, nations struggle to feed their populations. When financial systems fail, governments fall. And when superpowers feel threatened, history shows they are willing to use force to protect their dominance. This is not a distant possibility. It is already happening. Economic pressure has already shifted alliances. Supply chains are already reconfiguring. Investments are already moving. And every day, the world edges closer to a moment when the economic confrontation could spark broader conflict. And the scariest part: no one knows exactly where the tipping point will be. Will it be a shortage of chips that halts manufacturing worldwide? A sudden energy embargo that freezes industries? A financial crisis triggered by currency manipulation? Or an unexpected escalation over Taiwan that drags nations into open conflict? The world is silent, yet poised, like a tightly coiled spring, waiting for the smallest disturbance to unleash chaos. History is not linear. It is shaped by decisions, ambitions, and power struggles. And today, the ambitions of superpowers are colliding in a way that could change the world forever. We are witnessing the rise of a new kind of war. A war fought not with bullets, but with balance sheets. Not with tanks, but with tariffs. Not with soldiers, but with technology. A war that will determine who controls the world's economies, who controls innovation, and who controls the future. And as the United States and China move their pieces across this global chessboard, the world watches, unprepared for the storm that is coming. Because in this new economic Cold War, the first casualty is often unseen: stability itself. And when stability falls, nothing remains untouched. The storm did not break. It only gathered strength. While the world slept, unaware of the forces shaping its future, the next stage of this silent war was unfolding. It was no longer enough to control money or tariffs. The battlefield had moved to the very heart of modern civilization: technology. And at the center of that battlefield were semiconductors' tiny chips, smaller than a fingernail, yet capable of controlling the fate of nations. They're called chips, but these unassuming pieces of silicon have become the ultimate weapon. Every phone, car, computer, satellite, and missile depends on them. Control the chips, and you control the world. For decades, the United States held this power. American companies like Intel, Nvidia, and AMD designed the most advanced chips. Factories in Taiwan and South Korea manufactured them. And China was dependent, buying these chips to power its industries, its AI, its surveillance systems, and its military. But China had a plan. A secret, decades-long strategy to break that dependence and become self-sufficient. Billions of dollars were funneled into chip research, domestic manufacturing, and talent acquisition. Partnerships were forged, companies were acquired, and state-backed initiatives quietly prepared for the day the West would try to cut them off. And that day came. The United States, fearing that China's technological rise would threaten its dominance, imposed export controls on advanced semiconductor machinery, the very machines necessary to make the most powerful chips. China responded with a mix of nationalistic propaganda and aggressive investment in alternative technologies, determined to end its reliance on Western imports. This was a silent war, fought not in deserts or oceans, but in clean rooms, boardrooms, and research labs. Engineers became soldiers. Investments became ammunition. Supply chains became battlefields. And the consequences were global. Factories around the world scrambled to adapt. Companies reliant on Chinese manufacturing suddenly faced delays. The prices of electronics skyrocketed. The automotive industry, starved for chips, teetered on the brink. Military projects dependent on advanced semiconductors were delayed. Every nation realized, with growing horror, that control of chips was now as critical as control of oil. Meanwhile, tariffs and sanctions intensified. The United States targeted companies assisting China's chip industry, freezing assets and restricting investments. China retaliated with bans on rare earth exports minerals critical to electronics, batteries, and defense systems. Entire industries were held hostage, caught in a war between superpowers. Supply chains, once seamless across continents, fractured into competing spheres of influence. Southeast Asia became a new hub for companies fleeing sanctions. African nations, rich in critical minerals, became arenas of strategic investment and coercion. Global trade, once interconnected and predictable, began fragmenting into isolated blocks, each aligned with a superpower's agenda. This fragmentation was deliberate. It was strategy disguised as chaos. The superpowers knew that economic pressure could achieve what military action could not. By dividing the world into controlled spheres, they could force nations to choose sides, weaken competitors without firing a bullet, and slowly dismantle the global dominance of their rival. And while the world focused on tariffs and stock market fluctuations, an even deeper, more dangerous war was unfolding in secret. Digital and financial sabotage. Governments and corporations deployed cyber operations to disrupt rival supply chains, steal technological secrets, and manipulate financial systems. One unnoticed breach could destroy a company overnight. One strategic leak could cripple an industry. The cyber battlefield became indistinguishable from the economic one, and the casualties were invisible until it was too late. The semiconductor war was more than just economics. It was a race for survival. Whoever controlled the chips could dominate artificial intelligence, surveillance, defense, and the digital economy. And whoever lost would be left technologically crippled, vulnerable, and utterly dependent. In the shadows, secret alliances were forming. The United States encouraged allies like Japan, South Korea, and the Netherlands to restrict sales of critical chip-making equipment to China. In response, China strengthened partnerships with Russia and emerging economies to secure alternative supply chains, while quietly poaching talent from places like Taiwan. The chessboard extended across continents, and every single move carried enormous consequences. The stakes are staggering. Imagine a world where a shortage of semiconductors halts the production of cars, computers, medical equipment, and military hardware. Imagine nations unable to manufacture critical defense systems, their economies paralyzed. Imagine entire populations facing shortages of technology that has become essential to daily life. This is no longer hypothetical, it is fast approaching reality. And yet, this was only part of the war. The other front lines were economic blockades and financial manipulation. Tariffs became weapons capable of crippling entire industries. Investment restrictions froze billions of dollars in assets. Sanctions made trade impossible for those who dared to align with the wrong side. The US and China each weaponized their economic influence, creating invisible walls around their allies and enemies. Global companies found themselves in impossible positions. Take a multinational electronics company. It relies on Chinese factories, American technology, and European markets. One misstep, a delayed shipment, a frozen account, a new export restriction could wipe out profits, destroy stock value, or force the company to shut down. Executives became generals, lawyers became strategists, and every decision was a move in a global war game. Supply chains became dangerously unpredictable. Factories relocated, shipments were rerouted, and shipping costs soared. Industries once considered stable were suddenly vulnerable. The world economy, for the first time in decades, felt fragile and exposed. And as the battle for semiconductors raged, the world's financial systems also came under siege. Currency manipulation, credit restrictions, and trade financing became tools of strategic warfare. Nations with weaker economies were forced to comply or face isolation. Entire continents were pressured to pick sides in a conflict they barely understood, all while their populations bore the consequences. The result is a terrifying new global order, a world divided into spheres of influence, fragmented trade networks, and unstable economies. The old rules of globalization no longer apply. Countries once bound together by commerce are now separated by invisible walls, constantly monitored, pressured, and manipulated. And yet, the full scale of this crisis remains invisible to most people. They see rising prices, slower deliveries, and market volatility, but few understand the hidden forces at work. Few understand that these small, daily inconveniences are the symptoms of a global economic war being fought with unprecedented precision, secrecy, and cruelty. Because in this war, there are no front lines. The battlefield stretches across oceans, borders, and digital networks. Every transaction, every shipment, every investment is a skirmish. Every nation, every corporation, every citizen is a potential casualty. And history has shown that wars fought in silence can be the most devastating. Nations destabilized by economic pressure often spiral into social unrest. Financial crises can topple governments. Industries collapsing under sanctions can trigger widespread unemployment and chaos. The superpowers know this, and they use it deliberately. This is why the US-China economic confrontation is not just a trade dispute. It is a war for the 21st century, fought with money, technology, and influence. It is a battle for supremacy that will determine who controls the global economy, who dominates innovation, and who sets the rules for the next century. The world is watching, but it does not yet understand the scale. This is a war without borders, a conflict without clarity, a struggle where the stakes are existential. And when the semiconductor shortage hits critical industries, when sanctions cripple national economies, when global supply chains fragment completely, the consequences will ripple far beyond the boardrooms of Wall Street and Beijing. Every citizen, every business, every nation will feel the impact. Because in this new economic Cold War, the first casualty is always stability itself. And once stability is gone, nothing remains untouched. Did you ever wonder why your new phone costs more? Or why that car you ordered is delayed for months? It's not just bad luck. It's a silent war, and it's reshaping our entire world. For decades, we lived in a world connected by invisible threads called supply chains. Raw materials from one continent, technology from another, all coming together to build the products we use every day. But those threads are snapping. The global system we took for granted is being deliberately dismantled. The United States and China, locked in a struggle for dominance, have effectively split the world into two competing economic zones. It's a new kind of Cold War, fought not with soldiers, but with tariffs, sanctions, and technology. Allies are rewarded, rivals are punished, and everyone else is forced to choose a side. What started as a delayed shipment or a slight price increase has now become a daily reality. Electronics are scarce, and energy prices are soaring. Factories are shutting down, unable to get the parts they need. The predictable world of global trade has been replaced by crippling uncertainty. Shipping lanes, once open highways of commerce, are now monitored and restricted. Nations are scrambling to form new alliances, new trade blocs, just to secure their own survival. Critical resources, from the minerals in our phones to essential medical supplies, have been turned into weapons. At the very heart of this conflict is technology. The race for semiconductor supremacy has escalated into an all-out war. Chips are the new oil. The nation that controls their production controls the future. We're seeing a frantic race to build new factories, invest in new technologies, and achieve self-sufficiency. In this new era, every technological breakthrough is a strategic victory, and every delay is a potential national disaster. Control of technology now means control of your destiny. But this war isn't just fought in factories and boardrooms. It's a battle of wits, fought in the shadows. Behind the scenes, intelligence agencies are staging complex operations. We're talking about cyber espionage to steal trade secrets, covert alliances to secure supply lines, and financial maneuvers designed to destabilize entire economies. Major corporations have become both pawns and players in this global chess game. Their CEOs are now strategists. Their engineers are unwitting operatives. And every business decision can have geopolitical consequences that ripple across the planet. The stakes could not be higher. Experts warn that if this escalation continues, we could face a global economic collapse. Countries that once thrived on trade are now caught in a dangerous tug-of-war between two superpowers. This economic battlefield has no clear front lines and no rules of engagement, making the outcome terrifyingly unpredictable. And who are the real victims in all of this? We are. Ordinary citizens, bearing the brunt of rising costs, job losses, and constant instability. The invisible war is no longer invisible. Its effects are being felt in every household, in every corner of the globe. As this new world order takes shape, the two superpowers continue their calculated game. The US fights to maintain its technological edge, cutting China off from critical innovations. In response, China is building its own parallel systems, forging new partnerships with emerging economies, and creating a world that no longer depends on the West. Each move is a calculated risk in a high-stakes game with no clear winner. The future is hanging in the balance. A complete breakdown of global trade could trigger crises we can barely imagine. Widespread food and energy shortages, financial meltdowns, and a world where technological progress grinds to a halt. The greatest fear is that this silent economic war could spiral into a hot war, where trade disputes become military conflicts. But there is still hope. Awareness is the first step. By understanding the forces at play, nations, companies, and even individuals can adapt. Those who recognize this new reality and plan strategically can not only survive, but find new opportunities to innovate and thrive. For those who remain unprepared, however, the consequences will be devastating. We have entered a new age. An age where economic power is survival, where technology is destiny, and where the next world war might be fought with supply chains and silicon chips. The world is being silently divided, reshaped by forces most of us can't even see. And as this conflict unfolds, the ultimate question remains: who will come out on top and who will be left behind in the dust? The answer will define the future of our world. This video is for educational purposes and is based on public information and expert analysis. We encourage you to do your own research and verify information from multiple credible sources. If you found this breakdown insightful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support allows us to continue investigating the hidden forces that shape our lives. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the secret conflicts defining our modern world. Thanks for watching.